Hey everyone, this is Zach, and I am incredibly excited to be bringing you this next ship. It's the result of roughly 400 hours of answering yes to the question, can this be better? This build went through a few distinct stages, with the first being the prototype that began the process, a decidedly strange, unnamed stealth vessel with a detachable hull and retractable turrets and thrusters. Apart from the moving systems, the ship required the ability to deliver fast, accurate damage from within a tight radius. Rotary artillery was attempted and found effective, but rotary small grid railguns wound up winning out in terms of both effectiveness and preferred aesthetic. Unfortunately, even at this stage, the prototype was not only getting further from the form that I initially set out to create, but the fact that it was almost impossible to remove the outer hull that comprised its stealth functionality without making the ship bigger or less printable was becoming a more and more significant roadblock. I had envisioned an easily printable damage-bearing outer hull that could be replaced quickly, surrounding a light and functional inner hull which housed and supported all the other functions. The addition of the Railgun Gatling spurned on some joyriding in the midst of this slump, which took me further and further away from the depowered outer hull that I had left behind. A few destroyed NPCs and a couple unthinking copy and pastes into the blueprint later, and I no longer had a shell that I'd saved in the last 10 or so hours of work. The whole exterior was lost, and I pivoted to building a ship around the weapons system that had been so distracting. And then I added 3 more, and tried my hand at making a vessel with more forward-facing firepower than I'd ever seen in a vanilla build. And of course, it had to be functional, and fun to fly. This is the Brightcore, a combat vessel built around my most ambitious weapons platform. And then some. The working of each weapon system was a challenge, but the majority of time spent constructing the Brightcore was spent on developing a cohesive interior layout that would support and be supported by a notional crew. The Brightcore is fleshed out not only from a you can sleep and eat and work here perspective, but from a logistical one as well, with crew transport vessels, repair and recycling vehicles, light interior help seats, and escape pods being developed for no other reason than this ship would need this for its operations. That idea has driven previous ships, but the Brightcore offered both the physical space and the motivation to run with it. I invite you to come let your mind run on the same tracks for a little while I share what I learned in the process. In the upcoming episodes, I intend to describe the construction and functioning of the following systems as applicable. The Brightcore makes use of 7, sometimes 8 vessels for maintenance, safety, logistics, and mission accomplishment. I'm going to cover why they're there and a bit of how to use them. After that, we'll work through the auxiliary weapon systems, the missiles and the turrets. And then we'll actually have an entire video on the main battery's operations, and a brief touch on the logic behind it, with a more in-depth description in the last video in this series. Following that, a few minutes on how to actually fly the thing, before a walkthrough of the interior, and finishing with the actual logic breakdown of the 130 plus event controllers, timers, action relays, turret controllers, and lights that govern the Brightcore. That one might get a little PowerPointy, and I'm looking forward to it the most. So, if I can impart even a little bit of the excitement and happiness that I get from building neat stuff and sharing it with you, then, well, I'll be even more excited and happy. So, join me in this next video, Vessels of the Brightcore, where we answer questions like, why? And what even are they? And also, how do you squeeze an automated 7-seater escape pod in a 1x2x3 rectangle? Bye!